Hey guys, what's going on? Rhett here. Super excited to bring you a really, really special video today. I am on with Akil. Akil is in the coaching program. He's an absolute beast. Akil joined the program less than 3 months ago. He already owns 2 properties, one cash flowing Section 8 rental, another property that is about a day or 2 from being finished in the rehab process, and will go on the market here probably on Monday, Akil, right?
That sounds about right.
So I'm super excited to have him on. I think that there are a lot of people maybe watching this video who were in Akil's shoes a couple months ago, but I'm going to leave that up to Akil to talk about. So my man, thanks for joining us today. You've got a wealth of knowledge that you've learned so quickly. Just kind of talk to us about what made you take the leap and where you're at now and where you were, and you got the floor.
Of course. So from a real estate perspective, have not had any real experience. I took the typical route, went to college, computer science, got a software engineering job. I'm out in Detroit, and so real estate was something that I've seen people around me buy properties, rent them out and stuff, but that's all I really knew. And but I knew it was an option for personally. I like travel a lot, so I'm not working out of one area, so I'll be jumping around. And one thing that I really realized was that a lot of people that were also doing something similar to me with the whole jumping around, they didn't have they weren't like working a full-time job, and they were making money passively. And so I just wanted to kind of explore that option. Got into like the social media, was on TikTok, YouTube, all of those areas. And then I happened to stumble across Rhett, and just the information that was being put out, I felt it was really informational. Like a lot of these videos that I'll watch, real estate videos, they kind of flashy, but they lack substance, right? And so I really felt like this genuineness with you, Rhett. And so I said, you know what, let me at least, and I saw that you were, following up with people in the comment section. You were like, hey, shoot me an email. So I looked at that and I was like, you know what, let me just reach out, see what he has to say. And then I kind of had a conversation. I saw the other thing that kind of caught my eye. I was like, oh, he played Vanderbilt baseball, and I thought that was really cool too. So I was like, this guy seems legit. Looked you up, saw your baseball career, and then I was like, you know what, I had that discussion with you, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a go. If it isn't what I expect it to be, it is what it is, because I was bought in on you, and you kind of really sold it for me. So that's kind of how all of this started, and it's been the best thing for me since. Like I looking back at it, I know that's one of the best decisions I've made. Just signing up for the program is one of the best decisions I've made. And I would put it on par to, like, going to college, like all of these other major milestones in my life that I thought were super significant. And I think this is just another milestone for me.
Well, Gil, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, but the reality is you've done it. You've done it. I mean, so you bought your first rental property, right? It was a Section 8 rental, and it was already cash flowing. Right. We bought it. It already had a great tenant in it. We did a bunch of repairs to it. And did you ever see that property?
No, I did not see that property until
you literally did.
Yeah.
So guys, Akil lives in Michigan, and he never showed up to the property, never saw it. Any issues with contracting management? Any issues with anything?
No issues. And what it really does boil down to is just the team that you were able to it's the trust. I didn't have to go through all the steps of, like, knowing that even though I'm remote, I know that I can trust Rhett, and I can trust his team, and they've done this a lot, many times, right? So with that, it kind of gave me confidence that I don't even have to go down. I decided to go down this past week just for the sake of it, just to see what Birmingham was all about. But more importantly, like, I felt like I didn't even need to go down. So I just kind of did that out of my own time.
Right. So, and then Akil, so a couple of weeks ago, you got your second property under contract.
Right.
With the first property, we went the cash flowing already route, and you've already, so pretty funny story. The day you closed on the property, you got paid the prorated rent for that upcoming month. right?
Right. That
You
was pretty
closed
awesome.
on it on the beginning of the month, but there have been like 5 days that had passed. So they had already paid, the tenants had already paid for that month in advance. And then you already got that prorated rent payment for that first month.
Right. And I love that. That was amazing too. It was good because I didn't have to go through anything else to get rent, set everything up. I knew right there is hit my bank account. And everything was kind of set up for me from
Right.
day one.
Unbelievable. So any issues with that property? That property's been cash flowing, all good,
It's been awesome.
right?
Yeah. It's been, yep.
So we did it that route, right? Where we got a Section 8 tenant already in it, already cash flowing. And now for this second property, you bought a monster. The house is gigantic. It's like what, 2,000 square feet, 2,200 square feet. And it's going to rent for a ton of money, but we're doing a little bit of work to it. It's vacant. And now we're going to go through the process of screening a tenant, looking for that process. We're going to see how that works for you. And then at the end of that, you're going to have the option of which one you like better, buying something that's already cash flowing Section 8, or buying something from scratch, doing a little rehab to it, going through that tenant process, that screening process, and trying to find a tenant. So Akil, in just a short amount of time, and you haven't even been in the program for 3 months, you already have 2 properties, one already cash flowing. By the end of this, and like I said, we're probably going to have this second property on the market on Monday, already looking for tenants. Within 3 months, you would have already had 2 Section 8 properties. You would have gotten them in 2 separate ways. And all you're doing, and how old are you, Akil?
24.
I mean, how many other people that are your age are going to have 2 occupied cash flowing units at 24? What do you think the future is going to hold for you? How many properties do you want? Do you think that this is something that is sustainable, something that you can build upon?
Yeah, I think like as of right now, my mentality is what's next? What's the next property? And I'm at a point where I'm just doing one at a time, but I could see myself getting to a point where I can start doing a couple at a time, looking into multifamily. So yeah, I'm always looking, and right after one finishes up, I'm like, what's the next one? Yeah, I think it's just the start of something awesome. That's the reason I said go back to. I think this was such a big milestone for me, like especially the first and the second one. Those are like the real crucial ones because right, they really open up everything, like they open up like what's possible, right? And then you start getting creative. The entrepreneurial like mindset kind of kicks in. And I am a software engineer too, and I start thinking to myself, oh, I love my software job, but that's also something I can maybe do. I want to prioritize this real estate just as much as my software job. Um, yeah,
So,
definitely just the start.
yeah. And Akil, I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be my next point. You have a pretty unbelievably demanding job, and a job that is a really, really good job, but it takes some of your time. I mean, I don't know if you want to get into, what you do and who you work for, but you have an unbelievably good job. And the acquisition price to these houses is not super high. So it's something that a lot of people can get into. But more so from a time commitment standpoint, you have a commitment. So has this been pretty easy for you to be able to manage this on the side while also being able to perform at your full-time job?
Yeah, I think it's been pretty. Obviously, there's some juggling that goes into it, but overall, it's not too much. It hasn't been too overwhelming, and I think a large portion of that is kind of credited to you. You kind of all the experience that you've developed, you kind of know what mistakes. So it's easier to go from point A to point B having done it 100 times, and so like that's the reason I don't feel that stressed out, or there's not that much work I feel going into it on top of my day job, just because the steps are very like laid out, and there's a formula that works. You know.
Right. So Akil, were there any aspects of this that like talk to everybody watching? I know a lot of people that are watching, they're nervous. They're nervous about a couple things. The first thing is they're nervous about investing in an area that they don't know. They're nervous about taking the leap with somebody that they don't know. What would you say to people that were in literally your shoes? Because you and I didn't know each other before this. You'd
Right.
never invested in real estate. You'd never been to Birmingham, which is where you are investing right now. What were some of the things that were your biggest concerns before you got into the coaching program?
Well, like one of my biggest concerns, I was just like, I didn't know who you were, right? I see that you have a couple thousand YouTube at this point, a couple thousand subscribers, and you're kind of still small time, right? And in the grand scheme of it, you only 2,000 subscribers is not that much for a channel in the grand scheme of things. But so I was like skeptical. I was like, is this a scam? I was thinking, part of me was thinking like, is this a scam? Like, is this legit? But what really kind of got me to take that leap of faith is just how informational you were in all of your videos. I had looked into Section 8 a little bit, and no one really was like laying things out the way you were. So I was just like, wow, like the information that this guy is putting out it's such good information, and it's only something someone who really knows what they're doing would know. Like when you're saying you got to lock the HVACs, you got to buy a certain door, right? These are all little things that really say like, okay, this guy really knows what he's doing. He's learned through experience, right? You probably burned your hands, you probably got a couple HVAC ripped out, right? And then you realize and so I was really, when I saw that, I knew, I was like, and I knew when I saw that, I knew, I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about, and then you like just the genuineness in our conversations and even the videos, you really prioritize the information, right? And so that's what it was like, you know what, I'm going to take that leap of faith and just see. And at the end of the day, it is all about that leap of faith. Like you have to, you're thinking, oh, is this a good idea? Do I really want to sign up for this coaching program? I don't know this guy. Like, what the hell is this, right? But then you really think about it, and you're like, you think about it, you have the conversations with you, and it kind of gets to the point where like he knows what he's talking about, and on top of that, he seems really genuine and is putting out good information. I'm gonna take that leap of faith, and I think taking that leap of faith is the biggest thing, you know, to being successful in general. And that's not something I just hear in real estate. It's like across the board, a lot of successful people, they just did it, and so like just going out and giving it a shot, I think is an awesome opportunity in anything.
Right, right. And I appreciate that again, Akil. And one of the things too that you and I talked about, I remember on one of our first phone calls, I told you, I said, you're going to learn more with me in a couple weeks of doing this in the program than you've learned in years of watching YouTube videos and reading books. What are some of the biggest things you've learned about real estate, about being a landlord, about being an investor? Because think about it. You went from never buying real estate before. Now you're a landlord. You supply homes to less fortunate people in the Section 8 program. You're a real estate investor. You're an out-of-state real estate investor. So you go from nothing to tons and tons. You're checking so many boxes of how you invest in real estate. So you're learning so much so fast. What are some of the biggest takeaways that you've learned in doing this?
I would say I think the biggest takeaway for me is to be successful, specifically in real estate, especially from out of state, is um, you're only as good as the team you have, right? At the end of the day. And so like I could be the only thing that makes and personally, and this is just my opinion, like only thing that makes Birmingham a great market to me specifically is the fact that your team is there. You know, that's the only thing. Like I'm from Michigan. I travel all the time. I was looking at the Cleveland market. I was looking at a bunch of different markets, but I said like, where is my team? Where are the people I trust? And that is like I think the biggest lesson I've learned. Like that is the most important thing. Like you're only as good as the team you have.
I think that's such good advice. And Akil, I talk about that on the channel, but it's hard to really understand what that means until you're in it. So your support staff, and we've talked about this all the time, everybody on your team and our team, they get back to you when you call them, they get back to you when you email them, they help you, they're super knowledgeable, but the biggest thing is they all specialize in Section 8. And when you get into the program, now your team, would you feel like the team already knows what you're looking for?
Yeah, the team knows, like I said, the team has done this 500 times, right? This is the 501st time. They know exactly what they're doing. Like it's gonna, even for me to get to that level, it would take me like 200 houses. I don't think I would be there in the next 10 years, right? Just because they live like all day, every day is what they're doing. They're doing this. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
For sure.
So Akil, where do you see So first of all, think about it. It still blows my mind. You haven't even been in the program for 3 months. You already have 2 properties. You're averaging almost a property a month. Where do you see that? And you and I have talked about ways that we can continue to scale you, boom, 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 to get to a point where your main job can become your side hustle, right? And this can be
Right.
something for you. I mean, you're so young. Think about this. Think about 10 years down the road. You're going to be 34 and you already have 2 properties now, never mind 10 years down the road, because you're still early to this. That's what I tell people. You're so early to this party still. But where do you see this for yourself as far as how many units do you want when it's all said and done?
So I'm not sitting here saying like I need X amount of units, right? I'm out here taking it one step at a time. It's like, okay, I have a bunch of my money. Where can I best put this money right now? As of right now, it's Section 8 is where I see that. And so I just one at a time, right? So I'm not out here thinking like, oh, I want to get to 100 units or whatnot. I think there is in the foreseeable future, I'm going to be in the Section 8 space. I'm just gonna go one at a time and see where that takes me.
Definitely, definitely. And I think that that's the right approach. I think that so many people get into this and they're like, I want 100 units. I want 50 units because that'll make me 50,000 a month or 75,000 a month. And that's good. And that's all I need. But Akil, something about you, you have been so detail oriented with every step of this thing. And you love to ask questions and you're just a sponge. And I think that's one of the reasons that you've had so much success in the program is because you're just open. You're grabbing information and you're learning and you're learning. And there are times where you call me and I pick up the phone and we have a conversation that lasts 35 seconds and you get your information and then you apply it. Or you call your contractor and it's a short conversation and you get that information and then you apply it. And that's one of the reasons that you're going to get to 50 units, you're going to get to 100 units, but you're not even thinking about a number. You're just sticking with the process and you're continuing to trust the process over and over. You're going to rinse it and repeat it, and you're going to blink and you're going to have everything that you want. And I think that that's one of the biggest takeaways for this whole thing. I want to tell kind of a funny story too, Akil. And this is one of the funniest things. When you first came into the program, our first phone call, we set a time and there was a miscommunication with the time, because you're on Eastern time and I'm on Central time here in Nashville. And we had the times mixed up and I had my phone on the couch. It was on vibrate. I'm in the kitchen having lunch. And I go over to my phone and I have 5 missed calls. And I call you back and I go, Akil, what's going on? And you remember what you said. You were
I
like,
was like, yeah. I was out here thinking because I had spoke with you, had an awesome conversation,
right.
and we scheduled this time. And like I said, I hadn't met you at this point, so I didn't know who you were, and you weren't calling. Like there was a miscommunication in the time frame, so you called me back like 15 minutes later. But in those 15 minutes, my mind is going to like, did I just get scammed? Like, wait, this guy's too informational for me to have gotten scammed. I was like, wait, he played baseball at Vanderbilt. This guy, there's no way.
Oh
And so
man.
like eventually you called me back in 15 minutes. I was like,
Right.
but yeah,
Our call was scheduled for 4. My time, it was 3. So I wasn't even, I
right.
was okay, I got a keel in about an hour and the time was changed. It was so funny. And obviously that wasn't the case. But so another thing, Akil, too, I want to talk about is, do you think that the skills that you're attaining, do you think that you could take this process and apply it in any market you wanted and do this wherever you wanted?
Yeah, I think for sure I could do this in any market I wanted. And I think that like the idea, like the entrepreneurial thought process remains the same. It's just the one thing I touched again on was just like the team, right? I could do it in any market as long as I go and I spend the time to establish my own team there, right? And so if especially if I'm taking the hands-off approach where I'm not just like if I'm in Michigan, I'm investing in Cleveland, I'm not going down there like relatively if I'm not going down there that often, then I have to have a trustworthy team that I know um, is like looking out after me. And so like you could do it in any market. You should the big thing is you're gonna have to network a little bit, talk to a lot of people, have some experience working with them, and then build that team.
Right. Right. So Akil, you're in the Birmingham market right now. Um, I I have teams in a lot of different markets, and people always ask me, they say, Rhett, what markets are good? And I know you and I talked about a couple markets. We talked about Ohio, we talked about Alabama, and there are a lot of states where I have teams set up. But for what you wanted, Akil, low cost acquisition, where we could get into properties all in for between 60 and 75,000. We talked about really high Section 8 vouchers and really high cash on cash returns. But talk about this market a little bit as far as some things you've learned about the market, property prices, rents. What are some things that have really stuck out to you about the market that you're in?
I would say that yeah, I think price is a big starting point, right? As far as the Birmingham market goes, it's my first time in real estate, right? What I really loved about Birmingham is the thing is like you can mitigate risk by like spending less money on your first property, right? And so like Birmingham was awesome because then you can you can get a property, see how it pans out, and not know that like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to make this mortgage payment if I'm not able to get a tenant in there. And if something, it's like it's doing that, like what's the best case scenario? This is where I'm going to be. Worst case scenario, where am I going to be? And then this is my first property, right? And then trying to find where that aligns. And I felt like Birmingham was that perfect market.
Right, right. And Akil, how much money did you spend on your first property?
Um, all in, I was like 22 or 23,000.
Do you remember what the purchase price was on it?
55,000. It
55.
was, yeah, finance and like closing costs were like $13,000. So it's unbelievable. Yeah.
Unbelievable. So
Yeah.
you put down 13,000 after closing costs on your first property
Right. Right.
before rehab. And then we put some rehab in,
Right. Yep.
right?
Yep. 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 All
We
that. Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah.
we
Yeah. Yep.
definitely
Yep.
made some nice upgrades to the house to make sure that it's for us, we took care of a lot of deferred maintenance because a tenant was living in there. The tenant has been phenomenal, right? I know it's been a short amount of
Amazing.
time, but they had an unbelievably good track record. It's a single mom with a couple kids, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where I tell people all the time, I say, Rhett, what kind of acquisition cost do I have? There's no way I can buy houses for under 20,000. Lenders aren't going to lend me on it, blah, blah, blah. I hear this all the time. Lenders need $100,000 minimum, and it's going to cost me this. And if I buy a house and only put 13,000 on the house, it's going to be a piece of crap and this and that. But look at you, you're killing it. And think about how many properties you're going to have before you spend 100,000 in cash. You're on your way to have 4 or 5 properties before you even spend 100,000 in cash. And think about how much money you're going to be making a month. I mean, you're going to be grossing here soon, almost 4,000 a month once you get to, that 4th property. And after this one, Akil, we're already thinking about property number 3. So we're going to have property
Right. Right.
2 on the market on Monday. We're already going to be thinking about property number 3.
Right. Right.
And you're killing it. And, I really appreciate you coming on here, Akil, because I want to show other people out there that you don't need any real estate experience. You don't need to come to the market. You can actually be successful investing in markets if you have the right person guiding you and if you have the right team behind you. So I'm super proud of you. You're doing all the right things. You're killing it. Anything you want to leave any of the viewers on as kind of a closing remark?
I want to say if you're one of those people that are watching this and are like, I don't know, should I do it or should I not, right? Because I was in that situation and I was genuinely like, bro, what do I do? Like, I would say take the leap of faith, give it a chance, and like you won't be disappointed. Now I'm trying to like, I would say like if you're debating doing it, you should do it, you know. And if you're in that point where you're not even, you're like, just, if you're not, I would say if you're at a point where you feel like you're weighing your options, I would say go for it. Because I was at that point where I was weighing my options, I didn't know what to do, and I just decided to go for it, and it's been the best thing for me. So with that, with a similar thing, I would assume like going for it is your best bet. Um, it's been, like I said, it's a major milestone in my life. I think it's one of the best things that have happened to me, and I've done some cool things. So
You're the man. You're the best. Super proud of you,
awesome.
Akil. Really am. Thank you so much for coming on here. I know the viewers and people that are watching this are really, really going to appreciate this. And you're going to be a role model for people. I'm telling you, people are gonna literally take a leap because they see you being successful, and that's pretty cool. And I'm going to have you on here again when you hit the 20 and 40, 60, 80 property mark. And I'm super proud of you, Akil, and thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Rhett. Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.